Hello and welcome. My name is Chris, and in this video, we're going to talk about colors, the gradient tool, and the color picker tool. Now, let's create a new project. Click on Create Project, and let's create a rectangle like so. I will change the stroke width, and now if I wanted to change the fill color, I can go here on the color wheel and change its hue, saturation, and lightness. If I wanted to change the stroke color, I can click here to make the stroke color the active one. And now I can change the stroke color. You can also change the colors from here, and you can choose a color model. Here you can also write the HTML names of the colors, for example, red or purple, and so on. You can also swap between the fill and stroke colors by pressing this button here, like so. And you can transfer the fill color to the stroke color by pressing this button here. If the fill color is the active one, you can transfer the stroke color to the fill color by again pressing this button here, like so. Here we have the fill opacity. And if the stroke is the active one, you will have the stroke opacity. And that's pretty much it for the colors. Now let's move on to the gradients. Expressive Animator has four types of gradients. The first one is the linear gradient. Second one is the radial gradient. The third one is the radial gradient with a focal point. And the fourth one is the sweep gradient, also known as the conical gradient. Now let's move on to the gradient tool. You can choose it here in the toolbar or by pressing the G button on your keyboard. You will notice that a handle appeared. This is the linear gradient handle, which you can move it around like so. And you can move these points as well. You can select both of these objects and move the gradient around like so. You will notice that each object has its own gradient. But if we click this button here to change it from a relative position to an absolute position, you will notice that the object shares the same gradient. I will change it back to the relative position and move on to the colors. You can choose to add more colors by clicking here, like so. You can reverse the color stops by clicking this button here. And of course, you can move them around and remove them as well, just like that. Now, I will select this object and I will show you the spread methods. Currently, it's set on the bed spread method. You can change it here. Let's say the repeat spread method. And now, if you notice, the gradient repeats itself. We can change it to reflect. And you can create all kinds of interesting effects. Before I move on to the radial gradient, I will delete this object here and move this one in the middle. Now let's see the radial gradient. You will notice that the handle changed and now you can change the radius like that. And of course you can move it around. Also, the settings of the gradients changed as well. Let's move on to the radial gradient with a focal point. It's pretty much the same as the radial gradient, only that it has a focal point here. You can move it around like so, or by pressing the Alt or Option button on your keyboard, you can keep it inside this circle, like so. You can also resize this one and the focal point as well. Now, let's check the sweep gradient or the conical gradient. You can move it around like so. And if we check its settings, you can choose to do something like that. Now let's see how the color picker tool works. You can choose it here in the toolbar or by pressing the I button on your keyboard. I will select this object and press the I button, and now I will target this object in the middle. I will click on it with the color picker tool. As you can see, this object got the fill and stroke styles from this object here. I will undo that. And now if I hold the Alt or Option button, you will notice that the icon will change. If I do that, I will transfer this color here to this one in the middle, like so. Now I will undo that as well. You can also pick only the fill or the stroke. To pick only the fill, you will have to be active here with the fill color and choose, let's say I want this object in the middle to have only this fill color. To do that, I will press I, and while holding the Shift button, I will click this object here. As you can see, it picked only the fill color. If I wanted to pick only the stroke, I will go here to make the stroke color the active one. And now when I press the I button to choose the color picker tool and hold the Shift button, I can click here and it will pick only the stroke color. That's it for this video. If you like this app, please check the links below in the description. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will see you next time.